Hello and welcome to the MegaMonsterCast. For today we are talking about episode 11
11.
of Godzilla Singular Point. I'm Nick, with me is Josh.
Hello there.
So this episode, I was telling Josh earlier that I actually thought this was a pretty good episode. And we kind of had like a little conversation about comparing this to Gamera Rebirth, where I felt like Gamera Rebirth was actively bad most of the time, but
Yeah.
this show was boring a lot of the time, and I was torn on which one was worse. We came down on the side of being boring is probably worse than being bad.
Yeah. But at least it's actively trying to fix its mistake, but it's a little too late.
Mhm.
We to wait till the last 3 episodes to
Yeah,
do a big change.
yep. Again, it's like genuinely kind of a fun episode. Like it's got some good action in it.
Yeah, I think the next two, this episode and 12, are pretty decent actually.
Yeah, yeah. I had no complaints over either of those. We'll get to 12 when we get to 12, but yeah, this is the first time I really didn't have any strong complaints on anything. Again, like I wish maybe a couple of things happened in like a slightly different order, but they had some cool ideas going with it, like um, taking the skeleton out of the basement,
Hmm.
um, our Jet Jaguar team being taken captive, um, playing around a little more with the whole multiverse scheme, having the reporter essentially turn out to be like a villain. Like all these things are honestly kind of cool plot points that I thought worked. Again, I just feel like maybe some of this should have been done earlier, so there's a little more to do on other episodes. But I mean, like again, not a bad like my biggest complaint is I wish they had done some of these things sooner. That's a more complaint over other episodes than this episode. My biggest
Yeah.
complaint is just all these cool things could have happened earlier. Like honestly, I feel like they probably could have set something up with moving the skeleton a lot earlier than they did.
They definitely should have.
Like we actually get some decent action from Godzilla in this episode.
Yeah. And we get some pretty decent ones in the next episode.
Mhm.
Can you stop, please?
Like that fight in the middle of the city, really fucking good. Like really cool. Was that another Manda that he was fighting, or
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, it
Okay,
was
I
a
thought so.
giant Manda.
Yeah, I thought so. Like
Our
honestly,
kaiju are getting bigger finally.
yeah, no, like that's another thing I was gonna bring up. From the start of the series until now, we went from having kaiju that were like maybe the size of a car to like cataclysm causers.
Except for we do also get our smallest kaiju, and at the end of this episode and at the end of next episode.
Hmm.
And it's upsetting that they're this small.
Fair. We'll get to that when we get to it though.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate some of the choices that they're making again. I'm not gonna say everything is great. I think some of this again is like a little too late. Like we get more play with the whole cataclysm happening, the calculations of the multiverse basically. Um, they're starting to get closer to a head on that, and especially in the
Hmm.
next episode, it's like more or less there.
In the next of it, it is pretty there
Hmm.
because at the beginning of the 13th episode, you're gonna see it all come together.
Hmm. Again, we're playing a little bit with some weird choices where, like, again, we're back to our researcher is now back aware of the death of Dr. Lee. So, again, playing with perspective a little bit. I'm not against that being part of the episode. It's just I wish that it was like a little more clear what they were trying to do with it.
Hmm.
Although, I mean, I get like, oh, maybe this is just experiencing things out of order. Maybe it's experiencing things across the multiverse where characters die in one but not in another. Um, again, not the worst choice in the world. Just could have been. I feel like at this point, if it's still a little confusing, then you haven't like you shouldn't have the
Something went
last.
wrong
Yeah,
down the
like
road.
yeah, you shouldn't have things be confusing at this stage. Like even if people haven't figured it out, it should feel like you have, you know? Like you can still have a twist at the end of maybe like, oh, turns out you were wrong on this, but you should have at least led people to a conclusion where it's not them still trying to decide on
I will
which way it is.
say there is one thing that happens in episode 13, since you brought up the twist part,
Hmm.
that you're probably not going to be expecting.
Okay. My biggest
And
problem
if you
though,
do, I'll be surprised.
okay. Again, my biggest problem though is that it's like I shouldn't that's fine, like having the twist at the end. The problem is I should feel like at the end of this episode or the next episode, like I have it figured out already, you know?
Yeah.
Or like not worried about not understand. I shouldn't have questions right now that are these big questions. I should be like more or less of the mind that I understand what the show's doing. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that I should understand everything, but I should at
You want
least
to have that
feel like
feeling.
it. Yeah, like you should. Look, there's ways of doing it where maybe people don't feel that way, but I don't feel like this is doing it as well as it could. Again,
No.
it's not bad. It's just at this stage, like that's the other glaring issue I have is that we should probably more or less feel like we're wrapping things up instead of having this big thing still sitting there.
That big thing being the singular point.
Yeah, singular point in the basement.
Which basement? There's so many in this episode, or this series.
There's so many in this series. The cave basement.
We got the cave basement. We got uh, an Italian basement. We got an Aztec pyramid basement.
Hmm.
We got a pyramid, or not a pyramid basement. Um,
Got a military basement.
we have two military
Hmm.
basements, and then so the next episode, I think we get a military hallway basement, essentially.
Yes. I wasn't actually certain if that was in a basement or not, but again, we'll
I
talk about
had no
that.
clue, but yeah, it was getting close to the basement.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. Again, we'll talk more about that when we get to that pseudo basement. Um, yeah, so now we're
So,
having Jet Jaguar sailing down the river.
sailing down the river,
Again, that jump off of this boat should have crashed it.
but it didn't.
Hmm. Um, we get, which I kind of like this too. So Jet Jaguar reboots and updates.
Mhm.
That now it's taking the information that it's been presented and it's updating itself to essentially be a new Jet Jaguar. And as the episode goes on, we get like when it reboots, it basically sets itself back as a child and starts relearning like how to speak, who people are, math, like all these different things that are hypothetically very important to a robot, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Um, Again, I kind of like that concept.
Does find his new mama.
Yep, does find the new mama. Again, it's an interesting concept. Again, I just wish it was a little bit earlier that they had maybe played around with this. Like I feel like it's getting a little close to the wire on that one.
This one will kind of make sense in episode 13.
That I mean, I feel like it's already kind of being teed up with the end of episode 12,
Yeah.
considering it's basically the sister AI of Pelops 2, and we get the whole. We'll talk about that when we get to it, but like, there's
Yeah.
some stuff where like it feels like it's being teed up again. I just feel like maybe not having every big thing happen at the very end would have been smarter. Like, I don't know. It's a cool idea. I just wish it would have happened like an episode or two ago. We also get rhetoric on the story of Aladdin, which
Yes.
they're just bouncing around the earth like nothing else in this show. They're just
Yeah.
everywhere.
And we know it's at least they kind of gave her like different clothes based on her reality.
Yeah,
So we kind of know this is the same one we've been following for the last episode and a half.
yeah. Again, I appreciate that. It's just I don't know. I feel like I appreciate they're trying to tell a cool multiverse story. It's just again, there's a lot of little frustrations I have with that one, and like I'm happy that it's kind of coming towards the climax for that one too.
Oh my god, yes. I yeah. Once we get to episode 13, I don't know how I feel if this is better or Godzilla Earth is better because I hated them both.
Fair. And like I guess that's something that I'm kind of curious about myself is I don't hate this show, but I feel like there's a lot of again, I've said spinning its wheels, like more should have happened in those earlier episodes. Maybe again, it feels like they really wanted to tell two different stories with this, which I talked about last time.
Yeah,
And I think that it's just kind of lacking because of that.
yeah. It definitely stretches itself thin.
Hmm. Well, it stretches itself thin early, and then it has like all this stuff at the end where it's like, where was some of this stuff at the beginning? When like the coolest thing we had for an episode was just seeing Anguirus. Not even Anguirus doing anything, just seeing it.
Just seeing him twitching his little
Yeah.
spikes.
Yeah, like that was the coolest thing we had seen for a full episode. Like, where was some of this stuff earlier?
I want to say it was like almost 2 episodes.
No, because Anguirus did something else in the next episode after that. But we had like
Yeah,
some episodes where again, like nothing happened at all, and now we have like variants across the multiverse having different like journeys and explorations, and I don't know. Again, it's a cool idea. I just feel like some of this should have been spread out a little more. And like even if at this point because the variants aren't like okay, so Josh, have you watched Loki?
Uh, yes, I still have the last half of the last season,
Okay, but you've watched
but I
enough
know
that
what happens.
well, and you've watched enough like in the first season we had all the different Loki variants at that one point, remember?
Yeah, that's where
And they
we
were
got
all
the greatest Loki of all,
yeah,
Gator Loki.
yeah. And we had all the like they were all distinct and even if they looked similar like Loki and President Loki, they had very different roles to play. And I feel like
Yeah,
that's
it
the
had different vibes.
yeah, and I feel like that's another problem I have with this is like unless I'm paying attention, I don't know which
Which one we're
variant
following?
I'm yeah. And like I feel like that's frustrating too because like I feel like I have to go back through a second time, which I mean that's not the worst thing in the world, but I shouldn't feel frustrated for having to go back through to try to figure out who I'm following. I should feel excited by that, not
Yeah,
like it's
yeah, I
being
get
like
where
it's
you're coming from.
punishing me. Again, it's cool that we have all this stuff that we could do, but I feel like again, it just feels like I'm being punished for not noticing this earlier than being rewarded by having a second watch.
Yeah, and like I said in the last episode, like I feel like all this could have been better if it was possibly stretched out to 2 seasons instead of this 13
Hmm.
episodes.
Or just like more economy with what they were doing. Like when you have full episodes that are basically nothing, and
Hmm.
then you have all this at the end, it's not going to feel very balanced.
Oh my god, is it's very
Hmm.
unbalanced.
Like I think was it episode 3 that genuinely nothing happens in terms of action.
Yeah, there's no action. It's just all essentially build up.
Hmm.
But then we got the exact same build up 3 episodes in a row after that.
Hmm. And that's kind of again, there's nothing wrong with having some build up, but when you have so much build up and then all your payoff comes at the end and it doesn't feel balanced, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is my second watch through, and honestly, I forgot that we follow multiple different groups of the same group
Hmm.
until like just a couple episodes ago. Like,
Yeah,
that's how little of an impact it had.
yeah, and it fixes some of the problems I had with that just because, again, like I complained about how we had like the same explanation a few different times,
Hmm.
and it makes sense if it's different universes having those explanations, but at that point I wish there was more of a radical difference between those universes where you can tell that it's different universes.
Yeah,
And having them too similar is an issue because then I mean, it's cool at the end, like, oh no, it turns out it wasn't a waste. It turns out it was trying to show us something. Well, cool, but it could have done that in a better way. Like, if you
I
wanted
feel
us to
like
be gradually aware of the multiverse, show us that same conversation, but have like changes to what's going on. Like, maybe it's happening, and like, as the conversation is talking, the room changes that it's in or something.
yeah,
So it seems weird at first, but then we're gradually let in on that idea that way instead.
you heard it, folks. Go out there, do an edit of this show, and make it more reasonable.
Yep.
Put
Uh,
all the people in the right universes together.
I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do that.
I'm sure someone probably has.
Probably. Anyway,
And we
you have any
thank you
final
for your
thoughts on this
service.
one, Josh?
Ah, no, not really. It's just, yeah, not really with this one.
Yeah. Again,
I
like
mean, we get a cool shot of. Oh no, that's not even in this episode.
no,
That's the next episode.
yeah, we do get
Never
some cool
mind.
stuff in the next episode. Like the fight between Godzilla and the giant Manda is the best part of in terms of like shots in this episode.
Yeah, in this episode. Next episode, man. Actually,
Mhm.
there's a shot with um Jet that's just so fucking cool.
Oh yeah. And again, I feel like I'm being negative on this, but it's really just because like so much time was wasted at the start that we could have used better by this point, you know?
Yeah, like we had an unloaded dump of a bunch of negativity on an actually great episode or
Yeah.
good episode.
Oh yeah. No, like I again, I was being negative, but like it was fun. It's just at this point, like it's hard to be really positive with it when we've wasted so much time, you know?
Yeah. With this, I would give it a rating of an IGN 9. That way you know it's fucking average.
Yep, they do give too many nines.
IGN gives too many sevens.
They give too many
Dude.
sevens, dude. They give too many sevens, eights, and nines. It
If we
dilutes
give
it.
anything a 7, that means it's phenomenal.
Yep.
If it's a 9, it's mediocre.
Anyway, tune in next time. Bye bye.
Why?